Hello, my name is Kevin Rollins. This is myself as a leader, our final assignment through advanced leadership with Professor LeMasters. First, we're going to define leadership. The definition of leadership is the ability to influence others towards achieving a specific goal. That is the definition per Huckabee 2018 through our class textbook. Personal thoughts that I have relating to leadership as it's working in the acute care areas of a hospital is utilizing resources at hand to effectively execute patient care via the patient care team in all forms and prevent patient harm in the hospital. Okay, now we have influences on my leadership. First, we have Christine Rollins. This is my wife. She is the designated charge nurse of her hospital floor. She's also office assistant to the clinical coordinator. The way that she runs her floor, um, from the beginning of shift to end, the way that she shares knowledge between staff and students, and her expectations of results of tasks that she hands out um, greatly influence the way that I want to lead. Next, we have the old school charge nurses. These are the no nonsense, straight to business charge nurses that used to work the floors, that everyone, kind of feared figuratively, um, that knew what they were doing, how to do their job, what it entailed, what the patients needed, and take no jive from the physicians. Um, and then now, speaking of physicians, the way that they carry themselves is an influence of my leadership because I'm working towards my nurse practitioner. This is going to be me soon, talking to patients, coordinating care. So I kind of keep, one eye on the patient, one eye on the physician, kind of seeing that dynamic. Next, leadership traits that I um, utilize. This is from the National Organization of Nurse Practitioner Faculties, the NONPF, their competencies. The ones that stuck with me most are uh, NP 2.1, which is engage with individuals and or caregivers in establishing a caring relationship. You have to build a rapport with patients and families to get the entire story to make a stable care plan. You can't try and fix a problem without knowing all the parts of the said problem. Um, NP 4.2, integrate best evidence into practice. This comes from actually being in this program, having to do research, utilize research articles to pick and choose the best information to bring forward to patients. Um, and you want the most up to date information that you can find. And this program specifically has done wonders to instill that need in me. NP 5.2, contribute to a culture of patient safety. This is the most paramount, I think, that you could have as a competency. Um, both patients need to see safety, need to feel safe in your practice, but also your staff need to have their own safe space. What I mean by this is your patients have to feel safe enough to be able to tell you problems, confide in you things that they don't confide in anyone else so they can get help when they need it. But you also need to have safety for your staff that if they feel uncomfortable with a situation, they need to be able to come to you and say, hey, I don't like this. I feel this for this reason. Even if it may be nothing, they need to be able to speak out. Okay, nurse practitioner principles begin with collaboration. You should never be afraid to seek out assistance, especially new nurse practitioners. You should know very well your limitations. Clinicians need to collaborate with others and with patients to develop joint care plans with agreed on goals, targets, and implementation steps from the National Academy of Science in 2003. Um, this could be with other practitioners. This could be with supervising physicians. This could be with different departments, radiology, dietary, etc. Communication, we need to be actively listening to patients and providers, not be real jerk about life. And advocacy, we should always press for the best possible scenarios for patients. Kathy Baldridge defines advocacy as the process of effecting change and continues that nurse practitioners should get involved to impact and protect your patients and community. So I think that is a great definition for that. Okay, next we are relating leadership to hypertension through financial, spiritual, ethical, and cultural considerations. Um, Basically, this boils down to with financial support, you should be able to provide the best possible treatment plan that is not financially um, burdensome to the patient. And this will increase compliance for the patient. They can't afford medications and food and doctor's visits and all this. So we need to think of things that are more beneficial with less cost. That could include generic combination medications for patients that are on 2, 3, 4 blood pressure pills. If we can combine these to one that is a generic, that could save them anywhere between $8 and $12 a month. That's fantastic. Spiritual, we're not pressing in our beliefs. We're leaving them all up to their free will to decide if something's right for them. We're going to provide them the most up to date and beneficial um, information and education, and then after that, it's up to them. Ethical. This is just the most effective treatments with the least hazardous to the patient. That is not indifference to personal choice. They Again, we provide the information, and as long as they are alert and oriented, they can make their own decisions. And finally, cultural influence. Um, Obviously, respect cultural norms and practices. What this means is you have to take into account some patients, like the Muslim religion, that does not take pork. For some treatments that utilize pork products, such as Armour Thyroid, or heparin that could be having pork products in them. They may not take those. We may have to switch to something else. Leadership influences, transformational leadership, as evidenced in Huckabee's book. It utilizes individual considerations, personal support, intellectual stimulation, among other behaviors, to obtain outcomes that generally exceed what individual members can do upon their own. Leadership, we go above and beyond, helping individuals be the best that they can be. This helps the team grow, combine, supporting them. Intellectual stimulation, we're giving new information, we're building off of information, things like this. A narrative of leadership. My personal leadership journey, of course, I, like other charge nurses, was once a baby nurse that worked on the floor. One day I made it to work, saw my name down as a charge nurse, and I'd only been a nurse for just a few months, wasn't sure how to do things fully, but we got on through the shift. Everything went fine. What it boils down to is I used what I now know as transformational leadership, and I helped the other nurses, I helped the PCAs, providing support to them, doing the best that I could do to help them be the best that they could be. And the 18 patients we had, we soared right on through. So that is just a little leadership story that I have, that I give to student nurses when I have them. Insight for peers. I have been told that the way that I run shifts, where I take lead, is different and better than the way that some others do. I took the leadership quiz that was on our assignment, and it said that I was a more diplomatic leader, a la Mahatma Gandhi. And I believe this is very true, because I believe everyone should work together to complete the generalized task of patient care. What this means is, if there are 6 nurses taking care of 30 patients, then all 6 nurses should be able to help each other, help the aides and PCTs take care of these patients, and we should all be able to leave at the same time. Like, one nurse shouldn't be hung out to dry because they had the worst assignment or the most critical patients. Like, I'll jump in, I will give your meds if you're hung up here, or this nurse will check your blood sugars, things like this. And coworkers have said that this is, a more appreciated way, I guess, to put it, of the way to run a shift. I don't just hang out at the desk and bark orders and sit there and act like I'm better than everyone else. I get up, actively assist, jump in and help, things like this. Goals for myself as a nurse practitioner. One thing that I need to work on is delegation. Delegation is getting someone to do a task that needs to be done, obviously. The quiz that we did on our assignment states that I am a Democratic leader, a la Mahatma Gandhi, and I do feel that. However, there is more times that I need to be more assertive and exhibit a more autocratic feature, per Williamson in 2017. And in autocratic leadership, all decisions are made by leaders, and input from subordinate teams is not encouraged. That was a research study done by Al Thawabia in 2023. Of course, barriers to me doing that is staffability, available resources and staffing, of course, and timeframes. An example of a deficiency here is, should we have a patient call out saying, hey, I need to go to the restroom, instead of finding the assigned nurse or aide, I will go and help the patient. Um, Obviously, sometimes I will not be able to do things like this. So I need to say, hey, your patient called out. They need to go to the bathroom. You need to go take them. And that's just one um, simple little example, but it's still, that's one thing that I do. Finally, in summation, I feel like this class has taught me how to separate myself from a floor nurse into a more advanced thinking nurse. It has given me, information to store in the back, like, hey, your power setup, expert power. I'm in school going for a master's degree in nursing. I feel like I have expert power in some things. I was handpicked to be part of the cardiac recovery team, and that is expert power that I share usually on a daily with everyone else on the floor. Um, I have learned that transformational leadership um, is an exact name for things that I was already doing. But I've also learned that there are more things that I need to be able to do. Um, so this is a good class to separate the floor from advanced practice, I think. Um, but I do appreciate everything that I have learned. And I do appreciate the assistance with APA um, citations and things. That has helped me more probably beneficially than some of the other things in the class. So I do greatly appreciate all of your assistance. Thank you so much.